Hello everybody, how you doing? It's been a while since I've had a chance to share this time with you, and I'm glad you're back to see me again. Before I get started on this second jazz edition of my vinyl, I'm going to start showing some of the art I have done of musicians and singers. And this is Leon Russell, and this picture has some sentimental value because like 2 days after I drew this picture, he passed away. So this is an honor of the big guy. I love him and I miss him very much. And I'll be showing you more of these as I go along. Okay, let's start with the Herbie Mann. I'm going to go through these pretty quick because I got so much vinyl to get to, and I want to still be a young man when I finally get around to it. So we're going to speed things up a bit. Herbie Mann, one of the greatest flute playing jazz musicians. He has such tonal control that he can actually make his flute sound like a clarinet. So if you get a chance, check him out. This one here is from 1968 and it's called Glory of Love. One I really like though is this one here called Reggae, in which he does reggae music. Herbie Mann likes to do standards, pop songs, and make them his own. And so I recommend Herbie Mann if you like the flute. And also Herbert Laws is good. Once again, I got Herbie Mann at the Village Gate. Haven't had a chance to listen to this one, but it's on one of the old Atlantic labels here, which is kind of cool. Don't get to see those very often. And here is Herbie Mann's string album. I haven't had a chance to listen to this one yet on vinyl, so I'm looking forward to that. Okay, Art Tatum is an individual who is, he was blind in one eye, and the sighted eye had very poor vision. But he did not let that slow him down. This man had jazz in his veins, and he played like he had 14 fingers. So I really, really love Art Tatum. This one here is called Piano. It's called Piano Starts Here, and I got this through Dead Canary Music Store. From Cuba, we have Mongo Santa Maria. Most of you probably know for Watermelon Man. He has been considered a catalyst performer. In other words, as playing percussion, he can influence the band around him to sound great, but I disagree with that. I think in his own right, he stands alone as a good musician. And so this one here is called 70. Check it out. I haven't listened to this one yet, but I loved it when I first bought it. It's cool and hot sax. I imagine this might be cool jazz or West Coast jazz, but we'll find out. And it's Mo Kaufman Septet. Let's put this album out. I'm really anxious about that one. Let's go ahead and get through these quick. This is the hits of Harry James. Also, I got through Dead Canary. Yusef Lateef is a jazz instrumentalist. He actually performs with an oboe on occasion. I need to find an album in which he's playing the oboe because I'm really excited to hear how good that sounds. I once heard somebody play jazz on the contrabassoon. I'm sorry, the bassoon, and it just doesn't sound right. But if you can pull it off, that'd be great. But this one here is called a Concerto for Yusef Lateef. Okay, some New Orleans jazz. In 1963, we got this Albert Hall Presentation Part 2. And this consists of Billy and Dee Dee Pierce and Jim Robinson's New Orleans Band, if you like the New Orleans sound. Here's some good fusion by a group called Hiroshima. I love this album. I had never heard of it, and I went to Spectrum Music here in Wichita, Kansas, and purchased this one. Had a chance to listen to it yet, but I do love Hiroshima. If you want some jazz that's very light and airy, this album from Herbert Laws, this is called Wildflowers. And I kind of enjoy this. It came out in 1972. Yeah, so you might want to check that out. Herbert Laws did some music work with Carole King, music work. He performed with Carole King, I believe it was on the Tapestry album. Louis Armstrong is Sidney Bechet. Louis Armstrong was the first jazz musician to make the cover of either Time or Newsweek magazine, and he deserves it. The man's a legend. But sometimes people forget about Sidney Bechet. He played, on this album, plays the soprano sax, and I think he plays clarinet as well. But this is really, really good. Bob James for some contemporary and some fusion. This is Lucky 7, and we have obsession. He's most famous for performing the theme song to the TV show Taxi, and I believe that song was called Angela, and that's on the album called Touchdown. But if you like some really soulful fusion, check out Bob James. Julie London, I'm giving her a jazz pass. This is actually a standards album, but that's usually where you find standards albums, is in the jazz section. But I first heard of Julie London. There was a TV show called Emergency, and she played the desk clerk named Dixie. So I knew Julie London as an actress long before I knew her as a singer. And let me tell you something, I am not disappointed at all. Very smooth, sultry voice on this woman. And this one here is called Your Number Please. Here's one of my favorite groups, my favorite pianist, Dave Brubeck. And this is a combo album. This came out in 1956, I believe. And J.J. Johnston and Kai, I think his name is Winded, yeah, of course, perform on one side, and the Dave Brubeck Band performs on the other. And there they are. Brubeck and his boys was the first jazz group to be featured on the cover of Time or Newsweek. And once again, deservedly so. Dave Brubeck is just phenomenal. And this is a group of standards by the Dave Brubeck Quartet, my favorite things. Really beautiful, very lush. Baritone sax is another one of my favorite instruments to hear on a jazz recording. Here we have Jerry Mulligan, one of the best, one of the very best. Here he is with his quartet. And this album here, I have not listened to yet. I didn't even know it existed until I came across it. Probably West Coast jazz, cool jazz, you know, like Chet Baker or Zit Sims, Lee Konitz, if you like that kind of music. Here's the Modern Jazz Quartet. This is the last concert. 2-record set. A brief story about George Benson's Weekend in LA live 2-record set. I heard that he was going to do the song on Broadway, and he hesitated because he thought he'd be stepping on some toes. But I have to say I'm glad he stepped on toes, because this is one of his best recordings. If you want to see the perfect marriage of this song in a motion picture, there was a movie directed by Bob Fosse back in 1977 called All That Jazz. The opening sequence is performed with no dialogue, but the song on Broadway in the background. And I cannot tell you how beautiful it is to see that movie and listen to that song. And check it out, it's All That Jazz. Anyway, Cannonball Adderley is somebody I recommend if you want to get into jazz, and Stanley Turrentine is another one. But here he is performing songs from Fiddler on the Roof. And I heard it got some really, really good praise, especially from the people who produced the play. And I think there's some songs on this album that are not on the Broadway show. Keith Jarrett and Jan Gabarek, great combination there. This one was recorded in 1975 in Germany. And I really love Keith Jarrett. The man's improvisational prowess is just simply amazing. And I suggest you listen to them. And the last one I'm going to show you is Scratch by the Crusaders. The Jazz Crusaders consisted of Wayne Henderson, Joe Sample, Milton Felder, I believe, and Styx Hopper. I found out about this band from listening to contemporary music. Joni Mitchell has an album called Court and Spark. Joe Sample played the keyboards on that. And I was listening to the song and thought, wow, who's playing those keyboards? And sure enough, I want to thank Joni Mitchell, not just for being Joni Mitchell, but for letting so many jazz musicians into her lineup, like Jaco Pastorius and so forth, Wayne Shorter. And just thank you, Joni. You're just awesome. Now, the one thing that this group, the quartet, lacks is a guitarist and a bass player. So on this album, they got Larry Carlton to perform with them, and that was a good choice. And on bass, I don't remember it's Max Bennett on bass, who joined them for this album. So you're talking about a who's who of jazz. And I think they were called the Jazz Crusaders and then became the Crusaders, or vice versa. But check them out. Well, that should do it for now. Thank you for stopping by. Please subscribe. Well, you know. Okay, thanks, and have a good day.